Hello, all you ghosts and goblins out there. I'm Andrew,
I'm Ashton.
And I'm Sean.
and we are the Night Scholars, exploring the mystifying world of cryptids, ghosts, ghouls, and all things supernatural. Today, we will be talking about everyone's favorite cigar-smoking, loincloth wearing, tree guarding, the Kapre. How you guys doing today?
Well, I was doing all right until I found out that Sean was still alive, and that just basically ruined my day.
It's what I live for is ruining Ashton's day, so
That's so sad.
If you ruin
I
three
know,
more,
right?
do you get a free coffee?
No, see, she never buys me coffee, and it's really rude.
But that's not true. If you drink coffee, I would have bought you coffee at least once.
Right.
Asher never bought me coffee.
See, she's
I've
just
never
rude.
met you.
that that is true. That would put a hindrance on your ability to do that.
But the point is you haven't bought either of us coffee.
The point is that I have bought you other drinks, Sean.
That's true.
What do you drink, Sean?
I don't even remember what she's bought me. I know she's bought me at least one hot chocolate.
And what's your poison? What's your go-to drink?
I'd say vanilla Coke.
Really? What about you, Ashton?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Honestly, I don't think I have a go-to.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm more of a hanging out in the trees, smoking cigars with the Capre type of girl.
oh. Well, I think you'll like this tall glass of hair that we have here.
Well, if I remember correctly, one of the first times you and I hung out, you tried to buy a cigar.
I don't think so, because the first time that we hung out was at Universal.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, hey, there's a cigar shop right there. Let me go buy one.
I have no memory of this.
I mean, I like cigars. I don't smoke, hardly ever, but once in a while I used to buy one. We have a cigar shop in my hometown.
Nice.
Yeah, it's more of a once a year, like it's never planned, but at least once a year I end up smoking one.
With the Capre?
Well, I am going to the Philippines at the end of August, so let's see. In order to avoid them, I have to wear my clothes inside out, not look up if I see ash from a tree, avoid going out in the woods at night, be quiet, we can ask permission to pass through when going under a giant tree. So long as I don't do any of those things, then maybe.
You're going to forget. But, well, here's the thing.
What do
What's
you mean? What
considered
do you
a
mean she's
giant
gonna
tree to
forget? You
you?
think she's gonna wear her clothes inside out on accident?
Hmm, maybe.
Yeah,
I
like,
was more
see,
concerned. What counts as a giant tree to her? Because she's tiny. And
Mm.
so is it like an average sized tree or is it like an actual giant tree?
I mean, most trees are pretty big. I feel like I feel most trees are pretty
look,
big, so I feel like it's pretty safe bet with almost any tree.
if I see a banyan tree, I am absolutely gonna go hang out on that thing. Like, it's probably just like, even if it's me forgetting to specifically be loud and to wear my clothes normally and do whatever else that attracts it, then I'm also gonna be climbing its tree. So, we'll see.
That will
Although, I
definitely
mean, I
annoy
guess
it.
some reports of it, maybe I don't want to be a woman that it finds fanciful,
Nah, that's fine.
but
I couldn't find much about that.
I'm
There's
just gonna
some
pretend like
stories.
this is like a cool, like, baby of an Ent and Gandalf and forget all of the other stuff that I think probably ties more into racism than actual reports of this thing.
That is fair. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
there are definitely some racist connotations in its origins.
yeah,
And we
well,
could go into
But
that, but we're not. We all collectively decided to not go into that. There are plenty of other podcasts that you can listen to if you want to hear that information.
it's just not our place. Not 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 what we're going for here. Now, Ashton, how far back could you trace this thing? Because I could trace parts of it all the way back to BC.
Oh, you're definitely further along than I am, so why don't you tell us some about that?
It wasn't much, but that I could find, it was mostly about how animism was very popular in the Philippines, and it's around the year 2 or 3,000 BC, and there's a big difference there. But parts of that have kept along. I couldn't find specifically what parts, but they did mention and creatures that hung out in the woods and are quite large,
And also Harry.
and also hairy. Hey, Andrew, were you in the Philippines around 5,000 years ago?
No. No, I am possibly the American Bigfoot, though.
Unfortunate. So, one thing I did find interesting was the first reference to a forest guardian spirit smoking any sort of tobacco. Oh, I couldn't find anything before the 1800s. Ashton already mentioned she wasn't able to find something like that. Andrew, did you have anything on its tobacco origins?
Not anything specifically on the tobacco use. I mean, I do have that the first sighting was sometime before the 15th century, so back in the
Mm-hmm.
1300s at some point. I don't see anything specifically saying when it started smoking the cigars. It could have back then. I don't know.
Well, it really depends on when tobacco entered the Philippines, which I think was either in the 16 or 1700s. But who knows? Maybe it found the stuff beforehand and was like, "I'm smoking this, and you don't even know what it is."
Yeah,
It's
that
in
was the
line with it.
original trade to the Philippines, was through the Kapre, obviously.
Yeah.
So totally made up, but every year all of the Filipinos will smoke in honor of the Capre for its generous contribution.
Hmm. That makes sense.
Obviously.
I mean, I see that tobacco was it was first grown for medical purposes back in 2500 BC. So it's very
Huh.
possible that the first sighting of this creature could have been smoking tobacco.
It's interesting to me that it is depicted as smoking in general. Like, I know that it's a guardian of trees and like orchards, but I don't really think that I saw anything that kind of explained why it smokes, or if it's just kind of like this cool imagery of this creature that just hangs out in the trees and is chill.
I mean, he
I couldn't
seems
find
like a
anything
pretty cool
about that
guy.
either. I think it had something to do with how popular tobacco was. So it probably picked up local customs from the people instead of people picking it up from him.
Yeah, could be. I mean, he does seem like a pretty cool guy, though.
My favorite part is the well-known Capre named Mr. Brown, who
Yes,
Oh, I did find out about Mr. Brown.
indeed, and how he would put out his cigarette or his cigar ashes on people that he disliked who would come and visit the Malacanang Palace. That makes me so happy.
me too.
Uh, I saw that one of the presidents gave him his tree, like it's a heritage site now, and that is just fantastic. That's one way to please a minor god, is make his spot sacred
Yeah,
That's
officially.
true. I did
Would
find
you
like a
describe?
little story about Mr. Brown. I don't know
Go.
exactly where it came from, but okay. So it was written by Carl Gaversa and was inspired by the Mr. Brown myths. I haven't actually read it, so we can listen to it together. He watched the last car leave Malacanang Palace. Mr. Brown knew he had to wait until later that night to do his tradition. The new ones always attracted those that wanted to stay behind. He took another puff of his cigar and let the smoke linger on his tongue. The festivities would be over soon. He stepped through the halls of the palace, calling the names of old ghosts. He passed by the executive office and saw a group of men roaming aimlessly. The poor souls were trapped here since the Great War. There was nothing he could do but give a courteous nod and keep walking. On his way, he saw the first to make his home in the palace. He put out his cigar as a sign of respect and bowed his head. The man was human, and in normal circumstances, a Capre would never condescend to a mortal being. But Mr. Brown was different. He had seen the rise and fall of statesmen and traitors alike. It made the country what it was, for good or ill. The hall seemed bigger. He was so used to the smaller spaces in the years past. He remembered the first lady that managed to bring the building back to life. The footsteps of her daughter still echoed through the halls, though they were much heavier when she returned as a woman. Mr. Brown smiled. He always took comfort when the more things changed, the more they stayed the same. He did wonder what changes a new one would bring to his home, though anything would be better than what happened in the Great War. Mr. Brown had enough of prisons. He also had enough of the style of one of the former tenants. He thought the ivory statues were just a bit too much. Mr. Brown finally reached his destination. The 3 chandeliers were dull in the darkness, but his cigar gave him the light he needed. He passed by each portrait and remembered each one as he went by. The first of the Commonwealth and the one who restored it, the one called the traitor, the first of the new republic, the father of foreign service, the one who left too soon, and the austere head that replaced him, the poor boy from Labau, the man in red and the woman in yellow, the soldier, the actor, the 2 children who carried their names back to their old home. Mr. Brown looked at the new portrait on the wall. It was one of possibility. What history would be written because of this one, he asked himself. Whatever the future held, Mr. Brown would be there to see it through. He owed his home at least that much.
Huh.
It's a nice
I,
little
I
story.
like it.
It is a nice little story. It kind of depicts it, like, it kind of goes into, like, the longevity of the Kapre, because they're known to kind of, like, attach themselves to humans and kind of be their protector for life.
I did
Yeah.
And
see
I don't
one.
even know, like, the lifespan of these things. Like, are they
I
immortal?
couldn't. I could not find it. I just know that the one of the only accounts I could find of it said, "Hey, this thing's been hanging around the house for years and wants to protect you." So, but I couldn't find anything specific about a lifespan.
I
That was a
mean,
weird one though, because they had to invite it in for it to protect them.
Well, I know they have to,
Like a.
like, like, they have to win his trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also hard to see these guys. So, like, it would have to be, like, kind of a purposeful trying to find them in order to find them because they have a belt that makes them invisible.
they do.
That I didn't find, but that's awesome.
Yeah. So, like, basically, what you can see of them is, like, you can occasionally see their eyes, and then you can see, like, what looks like fireflies that are actually just the embers from his lit cigar.
I
That's
agree.
fantastic.
So we've talked a bit about the Capre already, but what we haven't gotten into yet is what does the Capre look like?
Yeah. So, the Capre, which we'll go into how after what we said, like, they're invisible, but and why there are depictions, but of the people who have been able to actually see it, the descriptors are that they're between 7 and 9 feet tall. It's not just one being; there are multiple capre, so I'm assuming that that's its range. There aren't reports that I was able to find of any females, so they're traditionally male with dark, thick hair covering most of its body, and it is described as being quite rugged. Sometimes it's depicted as being attractive, and sometimes it's absolutely hideous, with one very distinctive quality of smelling like a goat. Um,
Andrew, are
and
you sure you haven't been to the Philippines?
Um, One, I don't smell like a goat. Two, I am not between 7 and 9 feet tall.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
and do you wear a bahag? Because I'm assuming that you do not, and this thing is known for wearing the traditional Filipino loincloth, the bahag.
No, no, I wear clothes.
Okay. And do you hang out in either mango, acai, or banyan trees?
No, I prefer oak or pine.
See, he
Okay.
can't be the copper.
Okay. I stand corrected. Andrew is not the copyright.
And so It is said that if you are able to befriend one of these Kapres, which is where the reports come from, that it will give you a magical white stone that is about the size of a quail egg, and it will grant humans wishes. And once they have that kind of like level of friendship, then they are able to see all of the different Kapre also, like not just the one that protects them.
So, why does it give the stone? Is it to trust the people, or is it like you need to try to get a hold of it? Is that
No,
specified?
it's a matter of trust. So the first president of the Philippines, Emilio Aguinaldo,
Yeah.
was actually given one, and he lived to be 94 years old. And it said that one of the wishes that he asked for was to make him impervious from bullets.
Huh.
And they did say that he also sought out military advice from him, and it was a very trusted advisor. And after, when he was dying, he spit out the white stone, and that's kind
Hmm.
of where that connection was made. Although some people do think that it could have been a de facto slave who was helping him, and they came up with
Hmm.
the story of the Capre to kind of cover it up.
I
I did see
see.
that. I did.
Yeah. See
I
the
saw that.
part.
Could have been from the Spanish. As that
Yeah.
also discouraged people by talking about the Capre.
So what I like is this guy's like, "Hey, I like you. Here's this nice rock that I found." Because
Yeah,
same, I also like to give little shiny and well-shaped things to people. Also small resin ducks.
Okay. And yet neither of us have received a resin duck in the mail.
Oh,
For
I
shame.
don't mail them. I kind of just stick them places. I
Okay.
have I have at least 200 ducks left. I started with 300.
that's amazing.
But yeah,
Okay then.
sometimes you just kind of like a crow, right? You just got to give them little shiny objects, little nice smooth, well-shaped stones.
Yeah. I mean,
Although the
it
ones I
made
would
the
give
first president of the Philippines happy.
yeah. I mean, the ones I would give Sean are a bit larger than a quail egg, and I'd be more so tossing them at him instead of handing them to him. So,
As long as you hit me in the head right the first time.
where's the fun in that?
Indeed. And if you kill him, then maybe I can befriend a Capre and he can become our new head of scholarly research.
Sorry, position dies with me.
Oh,
But
You can't have
it's wise
you can't
though.
have somebody competent. You can't have somebody competent in charge of scholarly research. That's why you hired me.
that's true. I mean, Sean's resume for this job just said, "I'll be there."
That is fair.
It just says, "I will show up."
I
I
will show
said,
up.
uh, I no. It also said I have an anthropology degree. I'll be there.
No, I'm pretty sure that it just said, yeah, that sounds like fun.
Also, you misspelled anthropology.
I spelled it the French way.
So incorrectly. No,
That was implied with the French.
yeah.
Anyway, speaking of tricksters who pretend like they have anthropology degrees and are wise and friendly, weren't
Oh,
you talking about that earlier, Sean, about how they were known for kind of being like little trickster devils?
yeah. I saw some things about that. Like you mentioned with Mr. Brown, he would at toss Ash. Ash, I couldn't find exactly what kind of pranks they would play on people, but what I found is that they were mostly harmless and more of a kind of a confusion and type of trickster.
Yeah, it makes
Just to be like,
them
what just happened?
yeah, it makes them kind of like walk around in circles in the woods and get kind of lost for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
It
can.
doesn't seem to be malicious about it, 'cause from what understood, they kind of just let them go after a while. But
it's just they just have a little bit of fun with humans because humans are so easily distracted.
that is true.
Indeed. There's a small in Dallas that I've gotten lost in so many times before. It's so easy to do.
Yeah.
Um, Although it can have a mean streak though. Like specifically like if you cut down their tree or if you destroy like their orchard.
I
Yeah,
mean, that's
yeah,
fair.
Yeah,
not a
as
good
it
thing to
should.
do. You cut down its mangoes. It's
I
not gonna like
mean,
that.
if I lived in a tree and you cut down my house, I would be pretty upset.
Right. I mean, how many times does he have
Unless
to tell you that there's always a Kapre in the banana stand?
I was gonna say the only exception to that would be Tim Curry from Fern Gully. He wanted his tree cut down.
Yeah.
Did you
I
guys
thought you.
see anything about them taking off their invisibility belts on Fridays? Because I don't know where that came from, and I didn't know if that was anything.
I didn't even find the invisibility belt, so this is interesting to me.
I found the belt. I didn't see the thing about Fridays.
Could that have something to do with the Catholic nature or the Philippines? Because I know Catholics do weird things on Fridays.
I doubt it, because this thing's origins are like more so before Christians came to the Philippines.
Hmm. Although its description has changed slightly in modern times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there is the belt, but also apparently some of them have moved on from smoking cigars to drinking beer.
Dope. I thought you were about to say hitting that vape.
Yeah. And maybe they do. Maybe they're just out there blowing chunky clouds now. You know.
Look, I am not convinced that by cigar they don't mean marijuana.
That is fair. I mean, it also says instead of just cigar, it also says a lit ganja pipe. So,
Oh yeah, there's definitely definitely some marijuana in that. So
and even raw tobacco has like similar properties to hemp, except with the carcinogens that cause nasty things like cancer. Uh, that's in the
you know,
tobacco leaf itself. So like don't smoke, but I also like don't
yeah,
smoke raw tobacco either.
that's the only thing disproving that they smoke the vape is the raw tobacco. But if they're just doing it for the taste or for the marijuana, they could easily be out there hitting that vape in the woods
Mm,
and just blowing it in the face of people that annoy them.
he's got one of them Delta 8 pins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about the white and black Capre? Have you guys seen anything about that?
The most I could find on that was the white ones were the ones that were more likely to be guardians of people or places and would play like harmless tricks on you. But the black ones, and people went out of their way to avoid that. They would warn people who were visiting, "Hey, don't go that way. There's a black copra down there. Go somewhere else. You don't want to mess with that." But I couldn't figure out exactly why you were supposed to avoid it.
Yeah. Well, all jokes aside, with like me talking about hanging out with it, like there are some reports about its behavior towards women, so I don't know if that's kind of part of it. Like
Hmm.
there's this account that I was listening to, I think it's called the Tabi Tabi podcast, and
Hmm.
the spokesperson is a Filipino, so I think this probably aligns with more like Filipino lore than what we could find in English.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that it's known to abduct like a woman that is infatuated with soul while their body remained unconscious and ill, and that no modern medicine was able to cure it. And the only way to get them to be better is to call in a witch doctor to drive away the Kapre. And
Yeah, I
while the
did see
soul is
that.
gone, yeah. And while the soul is gone, if the woman eats any of the food in the Kapre's like kind of like spiritual realm,
Mm-hmm.
then her body will die and deteriorate.
Hi, Persephone. Is that you over in the Philippines?
Yeah, don't eat spirit food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no
Uh,
matter how good it looks and how much I want to eat it.
I mean, so Capre is a fae because you're not supposed to eat the fae's food either.
I mean, it definitely has some Fae-like qualities,
Does like to hang out in trees, and so maybe
and it's known as a trickster.
could be like a cousin of the Fae,
Yeah,
something
I
like
mean,
that.
it's just the chill uncle that can kind of be impervious from time to time.
Indeed.
Well, guys, that's about all I had on this.
I think we've covered quite a range of it. This thing is very fascinating. Thanks for picking it, Ashton.
Yeah,
I do agree.
I like this. I like this guy.
So, do you guys have anything on encounters?
That is something I forgot to bring up. I did see that people encounter them a lot as children, and
No, I was
and
asking if
then
you had
never.
any specific encounters.
I did hear one. I forget the guy's name, but he said his aunt was possessed by a Kapre who spoke through her and said that it wanted to be the guardian of his house and would communicate through his aunt. So very strange.
Indeed. I know that there's another story about Mr. Brown where there was a cab driver who asked for a light, and Mr. Brown was kind enough to light the match for him.
That's nice of
Oh,
him.
I like that. Did he ride in the cab with him?
I don't think so. I think it was more so when the cab driver was waiting to give a ride to someone.
Ooh, I like that a lot.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I got some cool stories.
yeah.
So what do y'all think? All right, do you believe in it? Because I'm going to go with yes. I think this thing is fascinating, and just the sheer number of encounters I was able to come across, not even specific ones, but that just said, that, yeah, I've encountered it. Pretty most of the people I know have encountered it. I'm going to go with yes. Kapre exists.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, yeah, he does seem like a pretty cool guy. Um, I mean, my question is, would you have a beer with the Capre?
As long as I saw where the beer came from, probably.
I'm gonna say,
Eh,
as a woman, maybe I should probably try to avoid it,
probably.
just to be safe.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not gonna resist climbing up a banyan tree.
Yeah.
Anyways, my answer to whether or not I believe in it or not is that there's always a Kapre in the banana stand.
Stop it with the banana stand.
There's always a Kapre in the banana stand.
Thank you again, our ghosts and goblins, for listening to the Night Scholars. You all be good to each other. Don't answer the scratching at your window.
Or do.
But most importantly, stay safe out there.
Good night.